Hello? Ooh, extreme hand close up. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, perfect.
Awesome.
And I'm just trying to turn on the... Okay. Well, we can live without it. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
So, what's your cocktail?
I'm drinking a martini in a juice cup because that's what I have right now. But it works.
We roll.
It is.
Right on.
It is. So.
Well, plus it's a cool vintagey juice cup, right?
It is. Well, I mean, it looks like it is. It's from IKEA, but we'll pretend.
Oh.
It's vintage. Nice. It's probably vintage IKEA at this point. How about you? What are you? What's your beverage this evening?
I've got some bourbon.
Excellent.
With some ice. I've been out of gin for almost a week now. I just wanted to see if I could do it. And I can, but it's kind of lame.
I hear you. That's fair.
Anyway, what's that?
I said that's fair. You've proved your point. You're allowed to go get some more now.
Yeah, I just had to prove it to myself, really.
Yeah.
Let's see. Will this work now? Oh, there we go. Is that better, or is that like obnoxious?
Nope, that's perfect. That's
okay,
awesome.
Cool. I might need sunglasses at some point. Anyway.
The things we suffer through for our work.
So, do you want to wait, or do you want to just chat, or
why don't we? Yeah, we can start chatting, and we'll post this live afterwards anyway, so we don't want people to sit through 10 minutes of us talking drinks, probably.
That's true.
Unless they want to.
We could do that forever.
We could.
No, I mean, we wanted to talk about how it's not just possible, but it's definitely doable, and it's definitely an option for people who have particularly small businesses, because as we all know, the government's not taking care of us. And so we've got to take care of ourselves. So it is definitely possible to not just survive the pandemic with a small business, but it's completely doable. You just have to rearrange things a little bit. I know you and I were talking earlier about how some of the small business owners that we know have been struggling because they, one of them owns a bar, and a few of them own hair salons, and you're severely impacted if you can't have people there in person. And then there's other folks who I've heard people say things like, right now my services aren't at all what I would consider essential, and people just aren't buying this kind of stuff. And so that's another thing. What are some of the things that you've heard?
Yeah, I think a lot of people I know work in traditional businesses, and a lot of them don't know what to do with themselves. People who've been out of work for a long time don't have any idea when they can go back, or they've gone back but only part way. A lot of the local businesses are complaining because as a restaurant, you might be able to open your doors and bring some people in, but you've got limited seating, you've got employees who are concerned about being there, you've got people who are concerned about being there for your customers. And so I think that there's this kind of recognition that there is this shift that's going on, and it may never get back to what it used to be, if only because we will never trust that it's going to get back to what it used to be. If I owned a brick and mortar business, I would never feel comfortable assuming that people who walk in the door are the only people I ever need to sell to.
Yeah.
Because this has proven that if this can happen, who knows what else could happen, that might impact us in the future. And really, that isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No,
because
absolutely.
it's just a shift in your way of thinking. You know, I am hearing a lot from small businesses who are primarily online that they're actually doing pretty well. You know, they're building more business. They have more global clients because around the world people are saying, how can I take what I'm doing and not do it in person? You know?
Yeah. Well, and I think, that's maybe a really good segue into one of the mind shifts that I think is really important. Um, and this is just something I've observed in myself as well as in people I know, but um, I'm buying a lot differently than I did in the before
Yeah,
times.
for sure.
Um, with the exception of really short, holy cow,
It
that was exciting.
was
I got a
exciting.
little, I got a little carried away, and I accidentally like nudged the bottom of the. Wow. Woo. Okay, we're back. We're back. We're breathing. Um, I'm buying totally differently because I've not really left the house in any, I don't know, tangible way
Yeah,
since March 13th.
yeah, yeah.
I've gone to, where have I gone? And like I took a drive so we could remember what the ocean looked like and that kind of thing, but nothing really substantive.
Right.
And because I'm also not, well, I'm not leaving the house much. So I'm not going out. I'm not meeting friends. I'm not getting coffee out. I'm not getting drinks out. I'm not getting dinner out. I'm not going to any concerts. I'm not going to bookstores. Because I'm also not meeting any business people in person,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really spending on clothes. I'm not wearing a ton of jewelry. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is a big deal for me. This is one very light, very beautiful necklace that you gave me.
Right.
Um, but like normally, not so much.
Sure.
So what I'm finding I am focusing on are things that are going to make my life while I'm at home easier and more pleasant.
Yes.
So that's one thing to consider is that I think, and again, this isn't just me, but I was surprised when
Mm-hmm.
I noticed it myself because I'd like to think of myself as like above trends and I'm totally not. But, you know, think about what people are doing now at home that they used to do out in the world and
Mm-hmm.
think about how your business might be able to provide some of that, whether it's something practical, whether it's something um, that is just unusual or useful, or you know what, whether it's something that's just beautiful.
Right.
You and I were talking last night about how
Yeah.
there's this, or maybe that was this morning. I don't know what time is anymore.
It was last night.
Um,
Yeah.
last night? Okay.
It was
We were
last night.
talking about how, okay, how, the little things of beauty are making a much bigger impact on us than they used to. Even though I think we're pretty tuned into that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I got this beautiful book of art from my mom as a birthday gift, and I was just completely overwhelmed by it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm going to turn down the music. One moment, Alexa, lower volume. Okay. Um, anyway, that's something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
How can you position what you're doing, what you're selling, what you're providing in a way that connects people to a sense that they are improving their home life, that they're making their home life easier, more beautiful, whatever. That's
Right.
not going to work for every
Absolutely.
single business, but I think to some extent it can work for a lot of businesses
Mm-hmm.
because two examples I think come to mind right away. And one is my favorite bar in the world, George's Lounge in Redondo
Mm-hmm.
Beach.
Yep.
Um, they started doing curbside drink pickup, and they would
Mm-hmm.
fix you coffee. They would fix you a pitcher. Well, shortly before they closed, before the shutdown, they had expanded
Mm-hmm.
their food menu, and so they had all these
Mm-hmm.
really great, unusual, delicious little tasties you could buy.
Yep.
And so they were offering those as well for curbside pickup. And then they developed their parking lot door.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's a beautiful outdoor area. Are you getting feedback?
No, but an airplane just flew over my house, so that might be.
Oh, maybe that.
Okay.
Anyway, they've been posting about it on social media. It looks super cool, super comfy. Um, and so you can, if you want to, you can go there with your mask, with your socially distanced friends,
Sure.
or you can just swing by and pick up whatever you like from there, and you can recreate that experience at home.
Yeah.
It's not like being out, but there's something special about it. And I think we're all right now lacking that feeling of special, of comfort.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely find, because I'm not going out to eat, or I'm not going out for drinks, I'm not going out for coffee or out with my friends or whatever, that I want to make what I am experiencing feel special. But also, the things that I'm doing at home, we're all working, or so many of us are working from home now and for the foreseeable future. And so I think that there are things that I might have tolerated before that now it's kind of like, well, why? Why are we tolerating those things? Why are we just putting up with a subpar situation? And, it really has kind of connected me. We were just talking about this with the idea of hiring help to do certain things that you go, there are only so many hours in the day. If I want to grow my business, I can't do sales and be my own VA and do all the writing and the design and you have to say, okay, you know what? This thing it doesn't need me. It needs somebody to do it, but that somebody doesn't have to be me. And the things that you and I are good at, the marketing side of things, the branding side of things, those are where we can focus on what we can do for our clients, as opposed to, okay, I'm going to spend all this time doing these other things that, we can grow so much faster by not doing those things.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. There was something you said in there that sort of sparked just kind of a side note. I mean, I don't want to be Pollyanna about this, because honestly, I'm having a hard time just like everybody is, right? I mean, the ups and downs of this thing emotionally, psychologically, are just intense. They're real. So I don't want to not acknowledge that. But I think one of the silver linings is that, and I don't know if everybody remembers this, but right when the internet sort of took off, there was a sense that was almost palpable. When you were online, when you were talking to people about being online, there was this sense of freedom, a sense of adventure. And that was when all kind of the DIYers really felt like, oh my God, I can just make stuff and it's beautiful and it's free. I used to, in high school and college, I had a zine that I put together that I would write by hand, cut out collages, go and Xerox. And then once we got AOL, when AOL was functioning correctly on those special days, I recreated the whole thing online, and I was totally blown away. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit of, maybe some of those echoes right now, because kind of like, when you were a kid at school and it was a rainy day, and so you couldn't go outside, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, we have to do everything inside. We get to play games, and we can do this, and
Heads
we
up,
can do that.
7-Up.
Heads up, 7-Up. That was the best.
Right?
Or like, oh, everybody's feet got wet in the puddles this morning, so everybody's shoes are off and the socks are drying on the radiator. Like, it's sort of, there's a little bit of that if you can manage to sort of switch off the other obviously negative, horrific impacts.
Sure, right.
And I think that if you can do that, do it as often as you can, because the bad stuff isn't going to go away. So you may as well, for as long as you can sustain it, you may as well enjoy the small things.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think about like my usual life. So many of my friends are not here. I grew up in Pennsylvania, went to college in California, moved down to Florida. I've got friends, all corners of the country and in other countries. And so, prior to pandemic times, we would connect here and there, and it would kind of be like, okay, well, this month is kind of crazy for me, but maybe next month we can do something. And now it's more like, well, we're all going to get together, and it doesn't matter where we are. And on a Saturday night, we're going to have a Zoom cocktail party, and I think it's really cool because it's like, these are the people that I'd wanted to be hanging out with anyway, but it wasn't really an option in the normal times. Whereas now
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, I kind of like this new normal. There's a different type of connection. Don't get me wrong, it is deeply lonely sometimes, this isolation. I got divorced 2 months ago, and so I went from being like, well, I'm seeing other human beings to like, I am seeing my kids, and I am seeing my kids all the time, and I'm seeing nobody but my kids all the time. And it's a lot. It's a lot. But in other ways, it's made me more connected with the people who aren't local. So I think that all of this kind of ties in together to this idea of how are we connected socially, business-wise, personally. What does it mean to foster this sort of connection? And I think it's what we're seeing with our clients and what we're seeing with other businesses is this sudden like, how do I foster the in-person connection without the in-person option?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I think one thing that's maybe tough for some folks to really think about or to see is that it's not really that you're having to do something differently. I mean, you are, but it's primarily that you're saying, how can I deepen a connection
Right.
now that this particular door is closed for the time being?
Mm-hmm. Right.
How can I do more, with one arm tied behind my back?
Yes.
This is this is a chance for everybody to get a little bit creative.
Mm-hmm.
And people always say like, "Oh, I'm not creative." I'm blah, blah, blah. Bullshit, because everybody's creative. Um, it's really just a matter of sitting down and kind of thinking, what are the things that go into our brand that people love? What are the things that go into our services, our products that people love? And what do those things look like now?
Right.
So I'm just gonna like throw out some examples of things that I'm doing differently.
Mm-hmm.
I, in the before times, bought a lot of travel stuff because I traveled a lot for my day job. And it was fun. I really kind of miss that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any use for any of my travel stuff anymore, like at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I'm having to completely rethink just sort of how I envision, when you sort of think, okay, what am I doing the next couple of months? Well, that's completely out of the picture. My ass is here. So, okay, my whole workday is here. My whole day is here. How am I structuring my day? What am I doing in the morning? When am I taking breaks? Is there something that makes those breaks easier? Would it be useful to, and these are just things I've thought of, but would it be useful to bring my electric kettle into my office so that it's just sitting there and I just have hot water whenever I want it for my ginger tea? Um, would it be helpful to have, I spend a lot of my time going from inside the house out into the backyard where we have two dogs who are super rambunctious, and we have a yard that recently has been really muddy for some reason. So I was going out into the backyard wearing flip-flops usually, or Birkenstocks, and winding up with muddy toes because my dogs would come over and run over my feet. And I thought, well, and then I realized.
Don't you blame those sweethearts?
What's that?
I said, don't you blame those sweethearts?
Yeah.
They're angels.
They're angels. I know. They're absolute freaking angels. Then I realized, I'm walking around in flip-flops constantly or barefoot, and my ridiculously high, like Barbie foot arches are hurting.
Right.
So how can I mean, this is super nerdy, but I actually thought, how can I solve both of these problems at once? I need a shoe that I can wear outside and then quickly get out of inside.
Hmm.
And I need something that has like mad arch support that I can just wear all the time. Right. And this is way too much. This is way more than anybody wanted to know about my feet, but whatever. So I ended up buying a pair of clogs with really high arch support.
Hmm.
They're leather, so I can just wipe the mud off. They're
Hmm.
super cute because they're like obnoxious silver, and they're super easy to take off.
Hmm.
So for me, like I never would have bought these thinking, like I would have thought, oh, I'll wear those like once in a while. Well, I wear these shoes every day now because my
Hmm.
life is different.
Right.
So
Right.
thinking about like what are some ways that you can put yourself in your client's place, in their mind, and think, okay, pick like three different people. And if you don't have client avatars, get some.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and just think about three different people. Like maybe this person is considered an essential worker, and they have a really stressful job. And when they get home, they want a shower, they want to feel comfortable, and they want to be
Hmm.
reminded that they're safe at home.
Hmm.
Just saying, that could be one of your avatars. Maybe you have another one who's a single mom at home with two kids under the age of 6. She wants to be reminded that she's a grown up, and she wants to remember a time when she was able to just go places. Think about those specific situations, and then just sort of don't put too much pressure on yourself, but explore like
Hmm.
how could clogs fit into a situation like that? You know,
Yeah.
um, I've totally stopped wearing jeans. I used to wear jeans all the time.
Right? Does anyone wear jeans right now? I mean, honestly,
Like
like
my son right now is wearing jeans, but
he's
he's
crazy. What is he trying to
14.
prove?
I don't know. He's like an overachiever. It's bonkers. Um, I suddenly have more dresses than I've ever owned in my life combined
Ridiculous. Yep.
because I want ease. I want to look somewhat pulled together, even though I'm not. I don't want to have to do a million loads of laundry because it
Hmm.
seems like with this transition, that's what we're all doing all the time now. Right? There's never not laundry.
Right.
So anyway, I mean, those are just some things, like some ways to sort of people can start thinking about how
Yeah.
to how to find their way into their clients' hearts a little bit deeper, into their minds a
Hmm.
little bit deeper. Which problems do you solve now?
Right. Yeah, I think the one of the cool things, if you can, one of the cool things about the pandemic,
This pandemic is so cool.
awesome. No, but one of the things that has been beneficial out of it is that we are seeing a shift to a more global mindset, where before you'd be thinking about who are the people in your neighborhood who need you, who are the people within your very small sphere who need you.
Mhm.
You'd be making connections solely through the people that you know and that you see every day. Whereas now, I think that our nets are so much broader. Um, our connections, all of the people that we're interacting with, um, it's just it's blown up to where if I talk to somebody, they might go, "Oh, well, I know somebody who's looking for this." Normally, the people I would be talking to are the people who are, in my neighborhood. But now I
Right.
reconnected with this friend from elementary school, and I reconnected with this friend from junior high, and this person who I knew 10 years ago, or my mom's cousin's nephew, whatever. Like we're finding these ways of connecting with people because it's not it's not based on what's convenient, what's in person, what's online, or what's in our
Right.
faces. And so, I think that there's a real opportunity there where
Yeah.
when you're building your client avatars, they're not based on who is this person in my neighborhood who looks like this, who fits this general profile. It is in the world who needs me. And it might be someone in India who's my ideal client. And, before this, you might not have necessarily taken that route, but now you kind of go,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, what I'm doing is really useful for businesses in England. What I'm doing is really useful for solopreneurs in Bali or, whatever. And, I think people who are coming from the types of businesses that we are, where we have been primarily online for eight, 8 years, 8 years of online business for me, running my own business.
Yeah, I would say it's been 11 for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy.
But I mean, it's like an instinctive way of thinking now, where I kind of go, well, I know the Voice Bureau has had a lot of clients in Australia, a lot of clients in Australia. We've had a lot in Indonesia. We've had some in South Africa and France and England. And so I don't necessarily, and of course, within the US and Canada, but I don't necessarily immediately go to how am I going to serve this client. I go to where in where is this person who is, I can be very specific because I'm casting a global net as opposed to saying how am I going to really appeal to as many people in my neighborhood as I can.
Right, right. And I think too, there's two things that we can all assume everyone is going through right now.
Mm-hmm.
To different degrees, but I think we can all acknowledge that everyone is on a regular basis bored out of their minds and lonely. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I live with my two favorite people in the whole world, but I don't get to see anybody else, except for on a
Mm-hmm.
screen. And that sometimes it's really lonely. And I know that, for my son, he's 14. He hasn't seen his friends since March 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and when you think of it in those terms, when you think of your business through that lens,
Mm-hmm.
how can you solve those problems? How can you ameliorate some of that for people? How can you entertain them? How can you give them a mini vacation? How can you enlighten them? That's the other
Mm-hmm.
thing is I've been doing like I'm kind of a research dork, but I've been doing way more research than normal because I have time now. Like, oh, this is
Mm-hmm.
interesting. I guess I'll read
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
Um, I've got like right here behind me 6 books that I haven't read yet. I, I'm still buying them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm buying
Yep.
ebooks too. And mind you, it's not like I'm spending tons of money. It's just that, when you're used to being able to be out and as a function of being out, you know that you're going to end up paying for some things.
Mm-hmm.
It's different when you're
Yeah.
just at home and you have your stuff and your clothes and your food and your drinks.
Right.
You're looking for other stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so maybe
Well, I
this
think
is, well,
we're, no, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was
Well, I
just
was going to
saying, and
say,
I think, go ahead. Mhm.
frickin' frack. Yeah, no, I think it's important. I think to think about too the fact that um, this is a great time to take chances that might make you look stupid
Uh-huh.
because there's a lot of I think in general there's a lot of exploration going on. I think there's a lot of people are trying to find ways to do things. Yesterday I called a friend of mine and I said, "Hey, I'm sorry. I told you I would call you Wednesday, but I was so busy." And she goes, "Oh, you're just calling me because you saw the package on your porch." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Are you kidding me right now?" I said, "No." She goes, "Go and look on your porch. I dropped off a package for you." And it was this big, like a shoebox style, but big box that she had completely decoupaged the outside of, like all tailored to me and my personality.
Mm-hmm.
And it was jammed. And Katie, we do love a good present, right?
Yes.
A beautifully
Yes.
wrapped item.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was packed with like there's a novel in there that I can't wait to read.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little mini Zen garden. There's I can't even remember, but there's probably I kid you not, there's probably 20 things in there,
Oh, cool.
um, including including a sorry a wallet-sized photo that she took on her TV screen of Governor Newsom, and he's greeting me. He's greeting me personally. There's a little speech bubble that says, "Wear a mask." Um, but she said, "I've never done one of these before, and I
Mhm.
thought of you, and I wanted to make one for you." And honest to God, I cried. Like it was so thoughtful and so amazing.
Mhm.
And so she's expanding her repertoire of
Right.
gifts that she does. I mean, she regularly
Mhm.
will make things for people. She's awesome, but
Mhm.
she's expanding her repertoire, and it made me think, oh my God, I loved this so much that I think I want to do this for other people.
Mhm.
So this is a good time to bank on that kind of willingness for people to stretch a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah,
And it's a good
I
time to
agree.
stretch in your business as well. If something doesn't land right now, who cares?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that there's a lot more intentionality in the things that we're doing now. Um,
Yes.
because it used to be that like on a Saturday afternoon, I would go to Target and I would be like, I just need to pick up three things. And I'd be like, oh right, and this. Oh, and you go down the one way and you go, oh hey, I wonder if there's anything going on in the clearance rack. And you wind
Mm-hmm.
up rooting through the weird off-brand nail polish clearance in a color that you'll never wear, but it just kind of adds
But
up
you
and
might.
adds up and but you might eventually, possibly, yes. Um, and so you end up buying $200 worth of stuff that you didn't really come there for, but it's just kind of you get caught up in the shopping of it. Whereas now I'm doing more like purchases online, but they're all
Yes.
very intentional. It's very much like I want this thing and I'm going to find this thing. And I've got the whole of the internet to search for it. And so, the places that can be really specific and the places that can have this like one random weird item that I'm looking for, they're going to get my business. Whereas before, I probably would have spent that money on some bullshit nail polish that's going to be bad in
Right.
6 months in the back of my drawer. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is, like, you have time now. You can just
Yeah.
bookmark that and keep looking and do comparative
Hmm.
shopping. And,
Yes.
so by all means, polish up whatever your best offering is and
Yes.
make it ideal for the client you want to reach
Yeah.
because people have a little time on their hands.
Hmm. Hmm. And the person who's looking for this one really specific thing that you do or that you offer, you don't have to dilute it. You don't have to dilute it
Yeah.
to only the people who are going to come into your store or only the people that are, you can be really weird. A
Yes.
pandemic is a really good time to be super weird because
This is the time to be extra.
yes, yes, because having that specialty, it makes you stand out. And, being really, really specific and really intentional about what you do is really in line with the way that people are shopping. They're being really, really specific and really intentional with the way that they shop.
Yes.
And, I think that it's a huge opportunity to build that connection and build that rapport because you better believe the places that I found something weird and amazing at, I bookmark for the next time and the time after
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And, once I find something that scratches my particular weirdness itch, they're
Yeah.
they're with me forever. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that there's a huge opportunity, and it doesn't have to be even service-based businesses, even businesses that relied on these in-person interactions, in-person connections. There is this opportunity for, okay, well, let's say you own an event space. That's really frustrating right now because you can't host events. But
Okay.
that's not saying that you couldn't host a virtual event. That's not saying if you own a concert venue, there is no reason you couldn't host a virtual concert. There is no
Right.
reason you couldn't have, okay, I'm going to sell tickets to this live stream of this concert. It might not be as expensive as if people were going to be getting sweat on their faces, and you're not going to have the alcohol sales. But there is no limit. You can sell to, 10,000 people and not be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to break fire codes and, you know,
You're also not going to have nothing.
right.
Like you'll have something. I mean, and that's what Nick Cave's doing right now, right?
Yeah.
He's playing alone on, unfortunately, my wedding anniversary. um, but he's playing alone, and you can buy a ticket for $20 and not
Hmm.
100 like his last show
Hmm.
was for me.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
and watch it in your own home. Is it anything like being there live? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Is it still awesome? Oh my God, yeah. Absolutely.
Especially now, we are so starved for something new. Like
Yes.
the idea of something new and like a special event. I can't remember what day of the week it is half the time. To be able to have something
Right.
that's like next Thursday, I can't wait.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
amazing, you know?
Right. There's also, I think it was my friend Emily who told me about this. One of the biggest clubs in Berlin, I think, in Germany, um, obviously empty these days,
Mhm.
but they have, and I could be wrong, I want to say it's like a 24-hour broadcast where they've
Mhm.
got live DJs in there spinning. And they have
Mhm.
this crazy setup, like there's puppets involved. And sometimes the puppets are doing a little dance show.
Why
And
not?
there's a popcorn machine going. And the DJs are like, hey, what's up? I'm having some popcorn.
Mhm.
Just totally whimsical and fun and like not overly serious. Because what else are
Mhm.
you gonna do? There's a fucking pandemic on. Like the whole world is on fire. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's so terrible in so many ways, but it can also be so wonderful in so many ways, and in so many ways that only you can bring to the world. So
Right.
this is like, now's the time. Now is the time to do this. Don't
Right.
don't just be defeated. Don't just think, well, that's
Mhm.
it.
Right.
Listen, everybody's financial situation is different. Some people have had to close up shop, and that's horrible.
Mhm.
And that's
Right.
that's a real thing. That some people have been left with no other option. I understand that.
Mhm.
I'm not talking about that. I'm
Sure.
talking about people
Sure.
who are just thinking, well, now what?
Right.
There's
Right.
so much out there that you can explore, that you can think about, that you can try, that maybe
Mhm.
you had these barriers before, and they're just not necessary anymore.
Right. 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 Yeah, I think, you know, not downplaying certainly the people who are really struggling through this pandemic and the people who've gotten sick and who don't have the ability to work in any way. Obviously, if you're in a hospital bed, we're not saying like, oh, host a virtual event. Like, obviously, take care of
No,
yourself.
like, oh my God.
But, um, but for the people who are going, okay, what if this lasts another month? What if this lasts another year? What if this lasts another year and a half? Where's my
Yeah.
business going to be in a year or a year and a half? And going, okay, let's say I have a restaurant. If I'm at 25% capacity for the next year, is that enough money for me to maintain my staff? Is that enough money for me to pay my rent? And maybe there will be breaks, maybe there will be some additional stimulus checks or something, but we can't count on that. We can't expect that to happen. So being able to say, okay, I can only make this percentage of my income from this particular revenue stream now. Okay, so we need to diversify our revenue streams. We need to come up
Mm.
with something that is virtual. We need to come up with something that is remote. We need to come up with something that can go out either from our door or in the
Mm.
mail.
Mm.
And being able to say, okay, I've got 10 different things now. You can come in, if you're one of my 25%, you can come in and eat in my restaurant. If you're, local, you can come by and get pickup, or you can come by and get a cocktail in a thermos or whatever. Um, and if you're from a distance, maybe we're hosting cooking classes. Maybe we're hosting cocktail classes. Maybe we're sending out cocktail mix kits in the mail that are, custom for our special thing that we do. Maybe there's you can purchase a recorded video of how us making this thing so that you can do it at home. There are so many different options for uh, ways to connect virtually, ways to connect remotely but in person, and then limited ways to connect actually in person for when that's safe. There's really no reason to say I'm only going to maintain and hopefully I can make it through a year, when you can say, in a year's time, when I've got 5 different revenue streams, I'm not going to shut that down. Are you crazy? I've got people
Right.
ordering from you from, wherever. And, you can, that's a really easy way to maintain and to grow. And even if, like we were talking earlier, if you're giving a percentage to a salesperson, if you're giving a percentage to an inventory person, or, whatever, you're still making money off of something that you don't have to do. And, maybe you sell something for $10 and you have to give away $4 of that in various fees. You're still making $6 every time. And
Yeah.
there's so much opportunity for, okay, well, this adds up pretty quickly. And when you have a global net, again, it's that global net is where it works.
Yeah.
If you were limited to the people who are within 5 miles of your business, then yeah, your location is the most important thing. And you're really, you're going to have to be more palatable to the general
Yeah.
public. Whereas you
Yeah.
can be super weird and super focused and super unique and cast a global net and get all those unique weirdos around the world who are, your perfect person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I had a really cool thought, and then now it disappeared. But one thing I did want to say is back to what you said about a video of you making cocktails. Like
Mhm.
right now, today, I would pay money for a video of somebody making the Pim's cup that used to be served at Bar Marmont before it closed.
I saw you
If you're
telling me
out
about this the
there,
other day.
Bar Marmont, what's the word I'm trying to think
Mm-hmm.
of? Alums. That's
Mm-hmm.
the word. I will Venmo you some money tonight
Yeah.
because I can't quite get it down.
I would pay money for somebody to do a video and a cocktail or a liquor recommendation for the Mezcal Old. I think I froze. Yeah, because like I don't know enough about mezcal to know which one would be best in that particular cocktail, and it was so good. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to trust myself to make that. I can make an old fashioned with bourbon, and it's great, but that particular, oh, it was so good. And if somebody would put that out there, then that would be something that would be really
Hello to our friends at Pattern Bar in downtown
I know,
LA.
right?
Oh, I
Please
remember
tell
what I was
me.
going to say. Yeah,
Yes.
please call Katie. She's got some cash for you. Um, Newsletters.
Yes.
I unsubscribed from so many newsletters in the last probably 3 years before this all went down. And now I'm on probably like I've subscribed to probably 3 to 5 more since March.
Yes, same.
This is a really good time to keep building up your newsletter game. Like tell people the truth about what's going on in your life.
Hmm.
Entertain people. Um, I feel like lately I'm constantly finding out random pieces of interesting information. I love when people include that kind of stuff in newsletters. You know,
Agreed.
try things out, see what works, see what doesn't work. But this is a really good time for people to, well, it's a really good time for you to catch people to try something new and to listen to things they maybe wouldn't have listened to before, follow
Right.
paths that they maybe hadn't followed before.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Yeah, I was really bad. I would end up getting on newsletter lists and just be like, delete, 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 delete. Not even going to open them. And now I'm like, ooh, what's that one? What's that?
What
What's
do you
that?
have to say?
Right. Not that I have all this crazy time. I mean, like, okay, I'm running a business. I'm single parenting 2 girls under the age of 7,
Yeah.
for another, you know, 3 days anyway, but under the age of 8 in 3 days. Um, and and so like I've got a lot going on, but there is something really satisfying about sitting down for like 5 to 10 minutes and reading a really great newsletter that's like, ooh,
Yeah.
okay. And one of them I read was actually like why are we all obsessed with celebrity gossip right now? And it's like, because we're craving some humanity, because we want to see what a person is doing. And I would much rather know, get a newsletter about like people I actually care about and what they're doing, rather than like, oh my gosh, her baby bump is so amazing. Check out the $10,000 book she's written. Yeah. Like, I don't care. But at the same time, I totally care right now because it's anything, and I think that's exactly right. That now is really the time for building those connections and getting the newsletters and getting the, whatever out there.
So if we had to, like, how would we distill this? How many points have we made? Like, people are craving people. They're craving genuine interaction.
Mm-hmm.
They have time to seek out stuff that they really, really like.
Mm-hmm.
They're open-minded. They're more open-minded to a certain extent than they have been.
Mm-hmm.
They're lonely. They're bored.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great time to make mistakes and then correct course if need be.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a great time to just give up or to assume that you can't be creative about things and you can't see things in a different way. And you know what? If you feel like you're in that place, shoot us an email. Leave us a message here on Facebook.
For sure.
Because we are nothing if not resourceful and creative and super willing to give you a hand.
Yeah, I think there are so many opportunities right now. It's really frustrating for me to see like these businesses that are going, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this because I'm so limited. And it's like, you're not so limited. You just have different things that you have to do. And it's exactly the same as, like you were saying, when the internet was new, people were like, whoa, I don't want my business on the internet. Now it's like, there's so many opportunities there that if you're closing yourself off from them, then you're really limiting yourself, and you can't anymore. You can't do that anymore. In order to not just survive, but grow and thrive and make this, this business, I think we're going to see a fundamental shift in the way that we do business. I think that people aren't going to want to go back to the office because, one, childcare sucks. Having to go into an office when you just discovered for several months that you really like working at home, you're good at it, you're, efficient. I think that we're going to see a real shift in people who go, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do things the way that we used to do things. And so lean into that rather than, away from it, and say, okay, assuming that we're not going to go back to the way that things were in January of this year, in this new world, what is my place? How can I connect with the people who are not going back to that? Because if you were doing okay in January, that's not going away. If the world opens back up in a year or a year and a half, you still have that.
Yeah.
You can maintain that. But there's so many new opportunities and new ways to build your client base and to connect that we didn't have options of before. People weren't living the way that they're living now. And so, to be stressed because we don't currently have revenue stream A when we now have, B through T that we didn't have before, A will be back. A will be back someday. It may look a little bit different, but focusing on what's not there right this second, rather than all these new things that have opened up, is really self-defeating and frustrating as a marketer, going, there are so many cool things you could be doing. There are so many ways you could be reaching these people that, that need you, that want you. It is hard to find stuff sometimes. I mean, it's weird for me as somebody who's very online and who's been very online for probably 25 years, to say, I can't find this thing. If I Google this, it's not there because it only exists offline. Why in the world is there anything in our society today that could exist online that doesn't?
Yeah, yeah, totally. And you know, just a caveat. Um, I know that for a lot of people, well, let me back that up. It's a scary time for all of us. For folks who are not used to having to think in this way, I know that it is particularly unpleasant. And I have to imagine that it must feel like, oh, hey, guess what? You're moving to a different country where you don't speak the language. You know, nobody wants to be sucker punched with that. Nobody does. No matter how open-minded you are, no matter how creative you are. But here's the thing. We're here. We're here now. And you're not allowed to just lay down and die. Like, you've got to get up and start swinging. You've got to get up and figure out the language. You've got to get up and learn the neighborhood. You have to figure out how you can be of service. You have to figure out what connections you can make, what information you can find. Because you've got so much to offer. Everybody has so much to offer. There's no need for you to take that route. I get it. I get it. It's scary. Absolutely. But that, you know, so what? I mean, honestly, I'm scared of almost everything every single day. You just have to keep going. You just have to roll with it. And if that's support that you need, cool. Let us know. We've been there.
Right. For sure. Yeah, I think,
all right, well,
you know, yes. No, I was just going to say that we've recently launched these new offerings that I think kind of span the whole gamut of, you know, how people might want to connect with us, how much people might want to figure out the next steps for their business, whether it's doing it themselves with a little bit of support and some really gorgeous stuff in the mail, or having us sit down with them for a whole day of just getting it done. I mean, well, you saw this week, I wrote 2 huge sales pages and a 5-part email sequence in like, what was it, like 4 hours total for all of that or something? Just
that was, she's a monster, you guys. She's a monster. She gets it done.
So yeah, I mean, like the 2 of us in a day, we could basically
Easy.
just like, yeah, we could put together an
We
entire
will
website.
make it happen.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay, well, listen,
So,
I want to propose a toast.
Yes.
Where's your cocktail? There it is. All right. And I'm going to say to everybody who's living in this crazy new world and maybe just needs a little shove, a little help, a little encouragement. And also to everybody else who's already out there just doing their thing and rocking it. You're awesome. And we're so happy to share the planet with you. Cheers. Oh, that's nice. Okay.
All right. Well, hey, it was great talking. And
So fun. Let's do it again.
Definitely. Cool.
All right.
All right. Well, yeah, if anybody has any questions, just hit us up on Facebook or email. You can email us at info@dossierAgency.com or Katie@thevoicebureau.com. Either one is totally fine. You can get a hold of both of us at both of those places. And yeah, we'd love to help your business grow and not just kind of hold your whatever, tread water for the next year.
Not just survive. We want you to thrive.
Agreed. All right.
All right. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Yes.
Bye.